Hey everyone, I'm Chloe and welcome back to my channel and to another episode of the Luxury Authentication series. So for today's video, I'll be going over a authentication of a Louis Vuitton handbag. So I'll be using this Louis Vuitton bum bag as an example to go through my checklist to make sure it is authentic. So you can use that as well when you're authenticating your handbag or bum bag for that matter. So don't forget to subscribe and let's get right into it. Okay, so I have the checklist on the screen so you guys can see and follow along to know what is coming up next. It's a 5-step checklist to make sure your bag is authentic. So we're first going to start out with the monogram and the logo written out because this is a really good sign to tell if it is authentic or not. So as everyone knows, the Louis Vuitton monogram is famous. It's seen everywhere. Everyone has the never full totes you see all the time. So what you really want to do is pay attention to the logo. So there's the L and the V, and I'm going to show you up close on this as well, but the V is going to be slightly above the L. So as you can see, the V is slightly above the L when they're overlapped. And we also have the flowers, the 4 petal flowers, and there's a line that is the sharp-edged flowers and then the line that has the alternating flowers in a diamond shape and then in a circle. So you want to make sure that they're always going to be the same across this way and then back and forth. And it's also really important to make sure that you see that these diamond-shaped flowers are alternating between the L and the V. You can also see that the LV logo, the V is a little thinner right here than on this side, so definitely pay attention to that, as well as on the L leg it's jutting out and it is thinner than the L leg going down. So those are some pretty sure signs to look careful at because people doing replicas sometimes just don't pay attention to those details. And also with the logo, you should make sure to notice around the whole entire handbag or bum bag that the flower or the LV is going all the way around from front to back. It never stops the pattern, it's always continuous. So if it's a line on the front, that's the diamond pointy shaped flowers, it's going to be that and continuing on the back. So as we can see on this bag, it is following that rule. And we can see that the LV looks right with the thin lines and the thicker lines for the L and the V. Just a fun fact to note is that the Louis Vuitton Speedy handbag, which is a classic, the fabric they used for that is continual, so it goes all the way, and that's why on one side it's straight up with the little logo saying Louis Vuitton, and on the other side, the back side, it's upside down. So if you're worried about that, don't worry, because that's what it's supposed to be like for the Speedy bags. And we just looked at the classic monogram canvas pattern, but if your handbag is made of the damier, I'm probably not saying that right, little square canvas, then make sure you just check out the logo on the inside the square. It should say Louis Vuitton Paris, and that should be consistent on the same row, on the same line, on the front as the back. It wouldn't be alternating or switching because they're using the continual fabric. So these seem like obvious details just at the start when you're trying to authenticate a bag, but it's really important to make sure that you inspect the bag very closely because just slight little differences, some replica makers probably won't think you would notice. So make sure you look very up close, you look the bag upside, downside, front and back. Just look at it really careful and make sure you just check that list. Okay, so moving on to item number 2 on the checklist is stitching. So for the Louis Vuitton brown bags, the stitching color is going to be a mustard yellow. So as you can see on this bum bag, it is a mustard looking yellow. you need to really watch out for the stitching, because if it's very bright yellow, that's a sign that it's a Vuitton just uses this muted mustard yellow color. And also the stitching should be very tight and even and just consistent throughout. If there's any hanging threads, like anything like that, then that's definitely a red flag. So as you can see, even on this arrow coming out the side, it's very consistent, just very put together and neat. Another fun fact about the Speedy bag, I wish I had one with me, but I'll pop an image again on there. So there should be no stitching on the bottom of a Speedy bag, because like we mentioned in the last checklist item, it's going to be one continual fabric going from the top to the bottom. And counterfeiters oftentimes will skip over the stitching and just get a little messy, or there'll be one stitch that's popping out and the rest will be fine, and they'll just leave it and hope that nobody notices. But all Louis Vuitton authentic bags will just be very consistent and look great throughout. There will not be any mess ups because it's just great quality. Okay, so moving on to checklist item number 3 is the interior stamp. So Louis Vuitton does not have authenticity cards that come with their handbags like a lot of other designers do. So if you find an authenticity card inside your Louis Vuitton bag when you buy it, that's a good sign that it's fake, because they don't do that, first of all. So if that's a red flag right there. So instead they do the interior stamps, like I said. And so on the stamp code, there will be 2 characters in the front, and those will be letters, and it'll signify where the handbag was manufactured. And don't be thrown off if you see where it was created is other than France, because so they create some in France and they also create them actually in the US, Italy, Germany, and Switzerland. So that's just something to note as well. So for the bum bag, it is located on the back in that little zipper pocket. And as we can see, the first 2 characters is S and A, and that means they're from Italy, so the manufacturing plant was there. And I'll also pop up on the screen a little index you can see from what the codes, like what country they're from, so you can reference that and make sure it is legit. And also talking about the stamps inside, pay attention to the stamp in the interior as well as the exterior for some bags. Like this bum bag has the stamp out here with Louis Vuitton on it. But we're going to be talking about the one inside right now. As you can see, it says Louis Vuitton Paris, made in France. And something to really note about this logo and to watch out for is that the O in Louis should be a perfect circle. If you see this where it's like an oval or anything like that, that's a red flag right there. And another thing to pay attention to is the 2 T's in Vuitton should be so close they're almost touching, but not quite. And just in general, the whole stamp is very neat and legible. And there's the stitching as well around that should also match on the outside and be that mustard color and just be very neat. Okay, and moving on to the next step is the hardware, which is one of my favorites when authenticating bags, because if you have a chance to see it in person, it makes a huge difference just being able to feel it and just see it up close. So since Louis Vuitton is such a good quality brand, the hardware is going to be just of the same quality as the materials on the bag. So for Louis Vuitton, they use metal, so it's never going to be like plastic for the zippers. It's going to be good quality. It shouldn't get brassy or anything or peeling, because that's a sign that it was painted. So it should be gold as well and of metal. So the Louis Vuitton logo on the zipper pulls. So just pay attention to that for this bag. That's what I am showing. And it should be consistent with what we were seeing with the V slightly above the L and the thickness that we talked about earlier. And it should be legible, so just make sure you get either, if you're seeing it online, make sure the picture is very up close, or in person, just take your time and look at that. The hardware is going to be consistent throughout the handbag, so it's never going to be silver for one, but it would never be two-tone either. So it will be gold on the zipper as well. And for the Louis Vuitton bags with a zipper, it should be very good quality, so the zipper should open very easily. You shouldn't force it. Moving on to packaging, which is big as well. So whether you're getting your handbag from a Louis Vuitton boutique or online, really online is where you have to worry and pay attention. So it's not an official reseller of Louis Vuitton if you're getting it like on eBay or something like that, or just like over the internet. So make sure you pay attention to when it comes in the mail, let's say. The packaging should be nice, and I know that sometimes people may not have everything, like at the dust bag if it's a resale item. So that's why we have to follow the whole checklist and not just rely on one thing on the checklist. The handles of the packaging when you receive it, Louis Vuitton bags should never have a price tag around the handles or the brand tag as well. That's going to be inside the actual handbag. So if you see that on a Louis Vuitton bag, that's a major red flag. And speaking of like handles on handbags and bum bags, they should never be wrapped in plastic. I think this is pretty well known, but just to throw that out there again, like, no, that's a huge red flag. To note, as you're using your Louis Vuitton bag over time, if it has handles that you're usually carrying it around with, this one I don't usually carry it with this, I put it crossbody. But if you have, like, for example, a Speedy bag and you're carrying it around, over time, the handles that come tanned, like brand new, will begin to wear and become like a darker brown because it's made of cowhide, and that just happens over time. So depending on if you're getting your bag from a new seller on the retail, or if you're getting it on a reseller site, it's important to ask, like, how long have you had the bag, for example, like, have you used it a lot, because that will tell you as well when you see it up close. And then as far as the packaging goes, with the dust bag that should come with every Louis Vuitton bag, it should only say Louis Vuitton on it or have the monogrammed LV. It shouldn't say Louis Vuitton Paris, so keep that in mind as well. So as I mentioned, here's the dust bag that came with my Louis Vuitton bum bag, and it only says Louis Vuitton. And it only says Louis Vuitton. It doesn't say Louis Vuitton Paris or anything, so that's legit there. And just the quality, you can tell it's a very nice material, so if you have the opportunity to touch it and look it up close, I definitely recommend. And just in general, your Louis Vuitton handbag, if you can touch it, touch like the canvas or the leather, whether it's either or when you're buying it or looking to buy it, just feel it, and you can always kind of tell if it's authentic or not just by the way it feels, especially like the leather, I think. And just another item to note when you're going through and buying your Louis Vuitton bag, if you are getting it at a store that says it's a discounted outlet Louis Vuitton store, you should run the other way if you're looking for an authentic bag, because Louis Vuitton never has discounted bags online or in like a physical store. Like some other brands like Burberry and Prada, they have outlet stores, but not Louis Vuitton. So that's a big sign as well. Just don't even go in there. Okay, so thanks for watching. That concludes our 5-step checklist to authenticate a Louis Vuitton handbag or bum bag. We used this one today to authenticate, and it's the monogram canvas bum bag, but there's so many other types of handbags as well, and backpacks that Louis Vuitton makes. But it's really important to just follow that 5-step checklist when you're going through and authenticating. Don't just rely on one step, one little thing to say it's real or fake. Because it's important to be comprehensive and go through the whole checklist, because you never know. Okay, so thank you everyone for watching. I hope this was very informative and helped you go through a nice checklist to authenticate a Louis Vuitton handbag, whether you're looking to buy one from a reseller's site or looking to inspect one that's already in your closet. So don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button, and look out for more videos in the future.